Amita, welcome back to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming out again. So when I first had you on, it was to talk about your event planning business, and that was very successful. So in the conversation, you were mentioning the Mississauga Humane Society. So for season 2, I decided to add them to the balloon pop and donate to that charity. So I wanted representatives from each charity to come on Real Talk, and I've been lucky enough to have you. I've had Adama and Jai from Up With Women, and then I'm having the fundraise warriors, the little boys that
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Okay, so Amita, today's discussion is going to be about awareness. I'm going to do a lot of listening today again. But the first thing is Mississauga Humane Society. What does that mean? What does the Mississauga Humane Society do?
So what we do is we help animals, and it's the Mississauga Humane Society, but honestly, borders don't really matter. We've had calls from Toronto, we've had calls from Egypt, around the world and stuff, people reaching out to us with regards to cats that need help, dogs that need help, and it's about reaching out and just providing a safe environment for these animals, providing a happy home, providing a space where they can, live a comfortable, loved life, essentially.
Okay. And what is your role at Mississauga Humane Society?
So I am the vice president officially.
Okay.
Very fancy title.
Yeah.
But I'm a member on the board, part of the fundraising committee, and I've been a volunteer for quite some time, just helping raise awareness, bring and raise money to help the organization and make sure that that these animals get the opportunity and the help that they need, really.
And when we had our interview with your Event 11, you told me how you got involved with the Mississauga Humane Society, but now I want you to share that story again. How did you first get involved?
So it was it was years ago. It was right when we first got married, my husband and I. And I came across a dog on their website, and it was just, you can't, like, I'm a dog person, and I'm a mush. I have a weakness for dogs, especially when you see those like the older dogs, and they're just sitting there and nobody's adopting them. So there was I think she was 11 or 12 year old Cocker Spaniel Beagle mix, blind, abused, to the point where she no longer barked. She didn't speak anymore. And I remember, again, keep in mind, just married, 1-bedroom apartment. And I tell my husband, I'm like, I think I'd like to adopt and rescue this dog. And he was like, let's come back to that. Let's think about that for a bit. And I'm not the type that really likes to sit and think about things, right? So I was like, okay, you do that. And I went and I saw the dog. And then eventually told him, okay, it's coming home. And, once the dog was home and stuff, obviously he took one look and he's like, there's no way. We had only, there's no way he could have said no. So we rescued her. We had her, unfortunately, only for about 1.5 years before she passed. But then when she passed, she was one of so many dogs that was on their website. She was one of so many dogs that needed help. So we started fostering. We started fostering for the Humane Society. Again, keep in mind, 1-bedroom apartment. So we had all these dogs come in from, and back then, when I first started this, back then, a lot of the rescues came from Ohio, so from the States, because they have a very high kill policy there, or kill rate there. So dogs aren't adopted within a certain amount of time. They get put down, unfortunately, right? And these are healthy dogs. These are young dogs. There's nothing wrong with them. But this is where the Humane Society would go in and they would intervene and they would rescue these dogs and bring them back. And then the foster parents that's where they would step in and, watch the dogs and give the dogs a home, because the Humane Society doesn't actually have a tangible location where there's shelters. Like, a lot of Humane Societies have the funds and the budgets where they can have a shelter, if you will, right? Where you can go in, you can keep the dogs in the cages and stuff and crates, and somebody can go in and they can see all the dogs and cats as well that need a home. But the Humane Society is unfortunately not there where we have the funds to have a facility like that. So it really very, very strongly depends on the volunteers, the foster parents that step up and step in and, you know, give their time and stuff. So we did that for a few years where we had, I think it was one, two, three, four, maybe 4 or 5 dogs that my husband and I fostered over the years.
Oh, wow.
And fell in love with every single one of them. Heartbreaking every time they got adopted and they went to a home. I mean, it was heartbreaking. It was great. I was so happy that they found a home and they had a place to go to, and they genuinely had people that loved them, and I could see it was going to give them like a great, great place to live. But I was teary-eyed, and like I'd start bawling my eyes. I have to hide in the bedroom every time they could leave because I was like, I couldn't watch them go.
Yeah, you get attached.
Develop a bond, right? You fall in love with them. Exactly. They become a part of your heart, they become your family, a part of your family. So that was sort of how I got into it. And then, you know, my little people came along, so we had to put the fostering on hold for a little while. But then, you know, I got back into it in terms of the fundraising aspect, and been helping ever since, just really raise money, bring awareness, and do whatever we can.
Thanks for sharing that. And since we're on the topic about fostering, I wanted to ask about fostering. What's involved with that? I'm sure it's just like anything where anyone just can't foster. You must have to pass something or fill in information where you're suitable.
So there's an application process that you have to fill out, and then there's a very heavy screening because not everybody is equipped. It is a huge inconvenience. I mean, when you think about it, essentially, because you're bringing in a new member into your home, especially one, if you don't have dogs, right? If you don't have a dog in your house and you're bringing in a new dog, you have to now, there's wear and tear. These dogs are coming from, we don't know where they're coming from. And even with the cats, you don't know where they're coming from, right? They could be, they could have come from an abused environment. They could have come from an environment where it wasn't safe, you know, so all of these personality traits are now going to translate in your home. So you have to be very aware of the fact that, you know, you have to be selfless, and you have to just be open and understanding. So there is a screening process in terms of, like, you know, us asking, what kind of a home environment do you have? Do you have children? Do you have a backyard? Do you have pets and stuff? So just understanding what the home environment that this animal is going to come into, and then just asking, you know, what is their temperament? Are they willing to, you know, do you understand that, you know, that you're going to have to, that certain amount of patience will be required, and just, you know, what is your experience with animals up until this point? So there is a bit of a screening process because it's not like these foster parents that we have are lifesavers right now. Like, I mean, we could not do what we do without them. They open their homes, they open their hearts, they open their families up to these animals. And, you know, like I said, we wouldn't be able to run an organization the way that we do without the foster parents, without the volunteers.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Do you work with other humane societies in some kind of capacity? Because I remember I got our cats. We had one cat from the Humane Society, Toronto Humane Society. So is there any connection between the society?
Oh, yes, very heavily, absolutely. That's how that's sort of how we communicate and how we find out. Like, there will be instances where the Toronto Humane Society will reach out to us and be like, you know, we found these stray cats, you know, and they're, you know, it's a mother with 3 babies and stuff, and they're, you know, they're stray and they need help, and you know, we're not in a position to do it, so can you guys help us? So, you know, our cat rescuers will go up to Toronto and, you know, help catch the cat, like, you know, to trap them and bring them back and give them a home and stuff. We've worked with other organizations. Like I mentioned before, we actually earlier this year brought two dogs, if I remember correctly, from Egypt. You know, so we do work with different organizations. We help each other because, you know, where we can't provide something for one animal, another organization might be able to, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a really big sort of community environment. Like, there's no, like, you know, this is sort of these are my borders and these are my parameters and these are my cats and dogs here. It's very much like, you know, what do you need? How can I help you? Like, how can you help? How can we help each other? Because at the end of the day, it's about the animals, right?
Of course, of course. And since you talked about animals being abused and things like that, is there any training provided for animals at the Humane Society? to get them ready to be in a home, and especially with kids?
No, it's really about the placement is what it's about. So if we get, and it's very tricky. It can be very tricky, like if you have a dog that is, that has been abused, for example, they can go either way. They can be like the dog that we adopted. They can be very genteel and submissive because of the way they've been abused, or they can go the other way where they become violent and defensive because it's like they're protecting themselves now, right? And they have that trust issue.
Yeah.
So it's really about picking the right foster location, the right foster parent. It's really about finding somebody that will understand different temperaments, that will be willing to deal with them. And it's really, there's no training that's provided, because sometimes it's just patience and love, right? Like you can't train abuse out of somebody, right? And unfortunately, they don't have the same platforms that we have where we can go to therapy and talk to somebody, right?
Yeah.
If dogs and cats could talk, then that would be a great world, right? Where we could understand and communicate much better. But unfortunately, they can't. So it's just really about patience and love. That's all it is. So it's about finding that right foster parent that will be able to provide that, whether it's a cat or whether it's a dog, because some of these animals, like some of the stuff that they've gone through, it breaks your heart. Like it's not right. There's people out there that shouldn't have animals.
I agree. And we talk a lot about dogs, but it's dogs and cats. Any other animals, or it's strictly dogs and cats?
Dogs and cats. I think we get the odd rabbit every now and then.
Yeah.
Maybe
okay.
a hamster or what have you. But
wow.
it's predominantly, well, not hamsters. What are the gerbils? Are those the big ones? Gerbils.
Yeah, the gerbils. Yeah.
Sorry. See, I'm a dog person, so my animal experience is very limited when it comes to the other sizes, but it's predominantly dogs and cats.
Do you have any one thing I want to know, do you have any advice for people that want to get a pet? Because as you know, people just want to get a dog because maybe the kids want it, or maybe someone is lonely and they want a companion, but again, they don't understand, maybe they never had a pet. Do you have any advice to share?
Yes, I have lots of opinions.
Okay. Yeah.
People don't necessarily like to hear, because it just, especially with this pandemic and stuff, everybody was, I'm home and we go get a dog. It's the greatest thing. Look at these people out jogging and running, and you see but it's a lifestyle, right? You have a dog as well. It's a lifestyle, right? And not everybody is suitable for it. I've had a lot of friends recently that were like, they see dogs and they're like, oh, I want to get a dog and stuff. And I'm like, your lifestyle is not suited to get a dog. Get a bird or a gerbil or a cat or something like that, because a dog is not suited for your environment. Even a cat, animals are a huge responsibility. They are a new family member. It's not just an animal. It's a new person that you're adopting, that you're bringing into your home. You have to understand that they will have needs. You have to be in a position to put their needs as a priority for you as well. So if it's, let's say if it's a dog, for example, you've got to give that dog that exercise. And if you're not willing to give the dog the exercise, then you have to consider a different breed. Then it's really about the type of breed that you're getting as well. So if you're getting like a large dog, like myself, we have a cane corso. That's a big dog. She needs exercise. She needs running. She needs to be out there. So, we wouldn't have gotten that type of a dog if we didn't think that we could commit to that type of responsibility. If you get a smaller dog, the smaller dogs don't necessarily need that type of response. They don't need that much exercise. It's just a couple of walks a day. And it's not just the exercise, it's the mental stimulation as well. It's about playing with them. This goes for cats and dogs as well, right? You can't just, they're not just a part of the furniture where they come and they sit and they just sleep all day. You've got to interact with them. You've got to play with them. With cats, you've got to play with them. With dogs, you've got to play with them as well. It's that mental stimulation as well, because animals can also get depressed as well if they're just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So it's really just about understanding that you have to, are you willing to make that time for that extra, for that person? And I say person because in my mind, they are a person. They're part of the family. They're now part of your people is what they are. But if you are willing to give them that time, if you're willing to, spend that time and love them and do that and like, you know, play with them and interact with them, the love that you get back is just, it's not comparable. Like I'm 100% confident that my dog loves me more than anybody else in my family. Like hands down. I could, like, they will all get mad at me, but even if I get mad at her, she'll turn around and she'll be like, I love you still, right? Like it's just, it's an endless amount of love, but you have to put in that work. That's what my issue is, that people will get animals, cats or dogs, and they don't put in that work. And then they're like, you know, well, this isn't working out, we'll just give it back. Because that is so traumatic for a dog as well, and a cat as well, to have that, like, it's that feeling of rejection. You have to understand that that animal doesn't know what's happened. That animal doesn't know that, you know, oh, you made a mistake, or that, you know, you can't manage them anymore, or what's happened. They will get upset, you know. So it's just about, like, you just have to ask yourself, are you willing to make that time for that animal? Are you willing to put that animal's priorities above yours as well? Because there's times when my husband will come home and he's extremely tired, but he knows he has to take her out for a walk because we made a decision to get a dog. So you have to take her out for a walk because I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Dogs have needs too. You got to put yourself aside, even if you're tired, and do what you need to do.
Yeah. But like I said, like the love that you get from them is just, it's uncomparable. It's like it. And it's actually been proven that getting animals helps you live 10 years longer. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you and me, we're good. We got 10 more years in us.
We're good. Yo, so Amita, tell me something. So I've been donating for a good while now.
Yes.
Let me know. Yes, no problem. Let me know where my donation dollars go, because you know, I read up on it, but I want you to share too some of the things that the donation help.
So the money goes to, so when these animals come here, they have to be, like when we get like a cat from Toronto or wherever, there's vet bills that need to be tended to. Some of these cats they've been living on the streets for however long, and you know, they're not in the best health. They need to be, there's shots that they need to get. They need to be spayed sometimes. Sometimes there's operations. They have health issues that need to be tended to. You know, and then, you know, when we're providing them to the foster parent as well, you know, we provide all the food and stuff that you need to start off and to get going and stuff. So this is really where all the money goes, to this tangible things. It goes to food. It goes to, you know, the medical bills. The medical bills is huge. We have a partnership with a vet who is on board and knows that, you know, like just keeps an ongoing tally of essentially the money that we owe them. And this is where the money goes to pay back that vet bill. They provide, you know, the food and the bed and all that stuff for the animals. So it 100% goes back to the animals is where it's going. It's going to get that food. It's going to get the supplies. It's going to get whatever surgery they need. Like we just recently had a cat who was having, and again, I'm not medically savvy, so I'm probably going to mess up what was exactly wrong with him, but I believe he was having some heart issues. Okay. So there was there was talk within the board about potentially having like a surgery to, you know, to see if we could fix him and help him. So, and these surgeries are not cheap, they're expensive, right? So this is 100% where all the money goes. Like it all every time, whether it's through donations by wonderful people like yourself, or when we do fundraisers and stuff, all of the money that comes in is 100% going back to the animals.
Oh, nice. Do you have any success stories? I was trying to think. I was like, is there any time where someone fosters or someone gets a dog and then they tell the Humane Society about it? Because almost anything you can think of, there's success stories. So do you have any pictures at the Humane Society? Oh, I remember this cat, this dog, and the wonderful people that adopted it or something. Do you have anything that you can think of?
Oh God, there's so many stories. There's so many stories with cats that have been rescued that have brought happiness to. There was this one particular, oh gosh, here. You know what? I'm actually gonna go back a few years and tell you a story about with one of my fosters that we had. Okay. It was a dog that we had fostered. So there were two brothers that come from Ohio. Okay. Their names were Lance and Reggie. That was one of the things that I liked to do. I could rename them, so it made me happy. So I renamed the dogs Lance and Reggie.
Mhm.
And Reggie, and I remember at that point, and this was years ago, but at that point, the Humane Society was like, do you think that these dogs can stay together or they need to be separated? So at that point, when they were rescued, they become part of a pack, and they had become, they were no longer the alpha because they were just following the leader of the pack.
Okay.
So when they were rescued, they were both very submissive, they were very docile. And then as they came into our home, that confidence built, right? And that they came into their own, they felt loved, they had security and stuff. So slowly what ended up happening is both of the dogs became alpha. You can't have two alphas in a house. So now we realized we've got to separate them. They can't go together because they would start barking, they would start attacking each other. I used to be able to take them for a walk together, and then it came to a point where I couldn't. I had to have my husband with me because they'd start off on each other, which was upsetting. But anyway,
wait, did you say they turned into alphas? Like
they both turned into alpha dogs, yeah.
So how does that happen? I know we're going off topic here, but what do you mean they both turned into alpha? They came into the house.
They came into the house docile.
And they're not alpha.
No.
And then they both become dominant, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because both of them, because one dog has to submit, right? And they didn't want to. They were both, they became confident, they were in a loving home, they were good together, and it happens, right? Where animals they'll just shift, it happens to humans, right? Like, people will come together and stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does work, or personalities will clash and things, right? So it's the same idea with dogs too. Like they came together and they were in an environment where it was about survival. But when they were brought out of that environment where it was no longer about where am I going to eat, where am I going to sleep, I've got to, keep myself safe anymore. Now you're in a safe home, you're in a safe environment, you're with people that love you. That shift happens, right? Okay. Where it's like, okay, this is my place. But then the other one's like, hold up, this is my place too. And then they're like, so it's just like, like which one's going to win, right? So we had to separate them. We had to give them to two different homes.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the dogs actually went to, I remember there's this woman that reached out to me, and she reached out to me, and her husband had recently passed away.
Okay.
And she had two boys, a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old. And the boys were the 10-year-old more so was having a very, very hard time dealing with it. So she thought that maybe, if we brought a dog into our home, it would be a good thing, right? It would be helpful. It would, fill that void or give him what he needed. So we brought the dog. So it's a bit of a tricky story. I'll back up a little bit. So what ended up happening is, before this woman, another woman had reached out to us. And this is key case in point of people who should not have dogs, right?
Okay.
So before this woman, another woman had reached out to us, and she said, we want to adopt a dog. So I said, which one? And she said, I'll take both. And when she said, I'll take both, I was like, hold on, like, what? You're not placing an order here. Like, what do you mean I'll take both, right? Like, that's not how this works. So it's like, no, which one would you like? And she was like, so she decided on Reggie, because I said, he's a little bit more sweeter. If you've never had a dog before, he's a little bit more gently sweet. And, so she came, she took the dog and stuff. And then what we do is we would always do a visit afterwards just to see how the dog was doing and stuff, right? It's not always a follow-up to make sure that, everything's going well. The dog's in the environment, the homes, that everything's, he's safe and he's being loved. And I remember my husband and I pulled up, and the dog was on a leash and he was outside of the house. And the family was inside. And I remember we rang the doorbell, and the woman was like, yes, no, my husband doesn't like the dog inside the house. And I was like, you can't have the dog then, like it has to be part of your home. It's not an outside dog, it's got to live inside. And she was like, well, no. So we took the dog back. Because I said, this is not a safe environment for the dog anymore, so we're taking the dog back. So we took the dog back, and that's when I called up this lady, and I said to her, like, are you still interested? Would you like to take Reggie? And she was like, yes, 100%. So now, and this is going back again to animals and what they've been through, and when you give up a dog, that what they feel and stuff, right? So we took the dog so now keep in mind, this dog's gone from the streets to our home, thinking that this is it, that these are my people, right? So now I've given it to this woman who was not equipped to have a dog or any animal as far as I'm concerned, right?
Yeah.
So we've given it to this one animal, or this one woman. When we took it from that woman, and then we gave it to the other woman whose husband had passed with the
Yep.
boys that needed the animal. So now this dog has gone through three different places. So
Yeah.
by the time I got to that third place, he, again, the trust issues, the insecurity, the instability, survival kicks in.
Yeah.
That dog took off. I remember she called me after we dropped the dog off. A couple of hours had gone by, and she called me and she's like, he's gone. And I was like, what do you mean he's gone?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know where he's gone. So she's like, we're going to go out and look for him. So I remember my husband and I were like, we'll come as well. And we just sort of drove around that area. We couldn't find him, and she was out there. And I remember it rained really, really badly that night, and she was still out there. Eventually they found him. They found him and they brought him back home. And she said that he was okay and he was fine. So we sort of left them. And then I remember a week later, she sent me a picture. She emailed me a picture of the dog with her son, and this long, beautiful email, basically just telling me that, it helped her son through, and it really, it's like they were meant for each other, these two, like the Reggie and her son and stuff.
The 10-year-old?
Yeah, the 10-year-old. Because he was taking the death of his father very, very hard. And he found comfort in the dog, and the dog was lacking that as well. The dog needed security, it needed love because of everything now that we've, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart that we have to go through that process there, right? But it gave that security and that comfort and that safety to the dog as well. So that's something that my husband and I always think about. That's something that we always, every time we tell my girls about, our fostering days, Reggie's name always comes up, because that story, it makes me so happy that, we were able to help that little boy, and we were able to find him, that missing piece that he needed, and give Reggie a proper home too.
Oh, man.
It's a little stressful though.
Yeah. Touching story. Right? All right. Thanks for sharing all this information. Very helpful, spreading awareness to people if they watch this. Now we're going to bring it back to you, Amita. So in season 1, we didn't have this thing that I introduced in season 2. So now you're going to answer one of these questions.
Okay.
You shuffle it around. So by my hands, Amita.
I'm scared.
No. Tell me which card you want, and you're going to answer the question.
Dude, I don't have to read anything, do I? I don't have my glasses. No. I have no clue what's going on right now.
No. Just pick a hand. I'm going to read it to you.
Okay, left.
What is one of the most memorable moments of your life?
Dude, you're like going Oprah on me right now. Most memorable moments of my life? God. You want me, should I be like cheese and talk about like my children and stuff? I think that's.
Go ahead.
That's really what it is. It was just, I think it was my girls, when they were born and stuff, especially I remember when Sam was born, because we had a bit of a challenging time getting pregnant.
Okay.
So when I did get pregnant, I was over the moon and ecstatic, and couldn't have come at God. I love her. She's 13 now, but she couldn't have come at a worse time. Decided to quit my job. I was going to start my own business. So really scaling back. And then I was like, no, the world was like, no, we're going to give you a baby now.
Yeah.
You've been struggling to have it. So we're going to give you a baby now.
Yeah.
And I remember when she was born, it was just a surreal, just surreal moment, where things slow down and you don't know, and I remember bringing her home, and we put the car seat down, and my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, okay, now what do we do? Right.
Yeah.
But I feel just because she's my firstborn and stuff, you go on this adventure, because you're learning to be a parent while she's growing up, while they're growing, you're learning as well. Right. I've never been a parent to a 13-year-old, for example, but I'm learning now as she's going, right? So as she was a baby and grew up and went on and stuff. So I'd have to say the most memorable moment was her coming in, because again, having her or trying to have her was challenging. And then even when I did have her, that process was very challenging as well. So yeah, her.
Amazing.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for taking that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Too early for this.
All right. So now This is balloon pop time.
Ah,
So one thing I'm going to do today is
yes.
I'm going to automatically donate to the Mississauga Humane Society.
Thank you.
But then also, by the balloon you choose, what I pop today, I'll know which other charity I'm donating to, and it might be Mississauga Humane Society.
Ah,
all right.
okay.
So by color, which balloon do you want me to pop?
We can go for green.
Oh my gosh. Up with women.
It's my people.
Nice, nice. So I just interviewed Adama and Jai from Up with Women, and the
I
video
saw
went
that
up
today.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So this is amazing. I get to donate to them again. So Amita, before we go, let everyone know where they can find the Mississauga Humane Society, how they can donate, and I want to know where they located as well.
So, like I said before, we don't actually have a tangible shelter and stuff, but we do have the website. We're working on, upgrading the website right now and putting up different things, but we are in desperate need right now, actually, of help with social media, of, looking for people that can help us with their social media, for people that can help with, that want to join our fundraising committee, people that want to help with, we have a lot of different committees. There's the dog rescue committee, there's, the cat committee, fundraising, social media. Social media is huge because that's a different beast of its own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's interested in doing any of that kind of stuff, honestly, either you can go directly onto the Humane Society website and email info@MississaugaHumaneSociety.com, or they can even send me like a DM on Instagram or whatever, like honestly, however, because we really could use and we need help, especially again, like I said, with social media. So anybody that's savvy out there with that stuff, our Instagram page or Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of jazz, we need it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll put all the information when I
yes,
upload the
please.
video too. All right, Amita, episode 9, season 2 is almost done. Thank you for stopping by, and we out. What the fuck?